here. And who else do we have? Fidgety Aura, good to see you. Fapster, I know you love your Butch. There's Sonny from Paranormal Chop Shop. And Sensational Sherry, good to see you. And we're going to have to speed through here. Downshift, what's happening? Mike Palumbo, good to see you. Ben from UFO Garage, how you doing, brother? How's that hair and beard combination going? Please give us an update. We need that. Terry Brown, good to see you. And Chad Smith is here, everyone. The Chad Smith. And Vash the Impaler, good to see you. Rooted in Gorgeous Sacredness, thanks for coming on in. Jason, 688, good to have you here. Scotty FJC, welcome to our channel. Thank you for joining us. And who else do we have before we run out of time? The Gorgeous Oracles and Beyond. And Ian McFadden, good to see you. And who else do we have? Grandmaster, otherwise known as the Gong Show around here. Terry Brown, I think I said you, but I'll say you again. Brian, 49, thank you so much for that awesome super chat. Really do appreciate that. Super chat is a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you very much. Big Dog, good to see you. And who else we have? Julius, Gorgeous Pam McSee. We're running out of time. Phil, thanks for the super chat. Horns up, let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. I'll tell you, this guy needs no introduction, but we're glad to have him once a month near the end of each month when Butch Witkowski joins us for Strange Days. The founder and lead investigator of UFO Cop, based out of the beautiful state of Pennsylvania, comes in and talks about monsters and everything paranormal galore. And you can find him all over Facebook and social media. He is a man who is supposed to be retired, but no, these mysteries of these creatures and monsters and legends has him so upset that he says, screw retirement, screw the heart attack I've had before, I got to find some answers. And that's exactly what he does. Butch Witkowski, always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. My pleasure.
It is always a pleasure to have you. What have you been up to the last month?
A lot of reports. It just, like I said last month, it was just getting nuts. It got crazy. Okay. A ton of UFO reports, pretty much all over the place. I forget what they're registering now just for Pennsylvania, but for the United States, it's over 3,000 reports just in a couple months. And another thing one of my guys was researching a little bit. It's amazing, just in the last 6 months, how many researchers have come out of the woodwork. Don't know them, never heard of them, but they seem to have all the answers and upset him quite a bit. And I don't really want to upset that guy. He's 6'5", 250. He's the biggest cop I ever saw in my life. And he's as mean as a snake, but he's a nice guy.
I ended up having a conversation, Butch, a few nights ago with one of our local members of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And he was asking me what I do and everything like that. I was telling him about the radio show, and he was immediately, oh man, I need to tune in. He said to me, he goes, 18 years on the job. He goes, I can't even begin to tell you what I have seen while doing this job, whether it's UFOs, whether it's, he worked in an area where there was a lot of Bigfoot sightings. Paranormal people getting freaked out in their own houses. His wife has actually told him that when his career is done, he needs to write a book on all of this. And you could tell by the way someone talks to you whether or not they're just playing the game or whether they're actually quite sincere. And I tell you, I got to take this guy out for coffee, man, because I really, really need to learn about this. Really do.
There's over the years, reports from police officers, state, local, federal park rangers, federal park rangers, state park rangers, small town departments. We've gotten so many reports off of that. As a matter of fact, I have one whole file folder that's just nothing but those reports. Very credible. A lot of the times it's a two-man crew in the car, and they're both seeing the same thing. And it's like you said, UFOs, Bigfoot reports, strange things running around the woods, crossing highways, multiple flights over different institutions, nuclear plants. It's just crazy. And then there's kind of the really weird ones. And the one, I'm pretty sure we talked about it somewhere along the line, but there was a really, really horrific accident down on in Pennsylvania here on Route 10 and Route 30, which is it's a massive intersection. It's huge. And it's 4 lanes both ways, and it shoots down into 2 lanes both ways. And there was a head-on, and another one got, until it was done, there was just a crap load of people injured. Some people were killed in the crash. And the police were on scene, and I was still living in the old place in Lancaster, and got a call from this guy, and I thought, well, I have a ticket or something I didn't pay or what? And he says, he'd like to come to the house and talk to me. And I thought, okay. So he came over to the house, and he said, I'm going to just relay the story one time. He said, maybe you can look into it. He said, see what you come up with. I said, okay. So he starts the story out with multiple ambulances, multiple fire departments, multiple police departments. I mean, this was a real melee. The road was shut down for like 9 hours. And he said, we were right in the middle of actually getting people, both alive and deceased, out of vehicles. And this bright light, we all saw it coming. We thought it was one of our helicopters. And he said, just like that, he said, everything stopped. It was overhead. He said, I could see everything. I could move my eyes. He said, I couldn't move anything else. Nobody else was moving. I mean, everything was like frozen in time. And couldn't talk, didn't hear anything, but it was just a blank scenario. It was just like a blank painting. Nothing was moving. It was just, everything was there, just the way he saw it and just the way he left it when that light come overhead. And then he said the light kind of went up just a little bit, maybe he said a couple 100 feet. And then it actually backed up and then took off in a southerly direction, and everything came back on. I mean, what they were doing, what they were talking about, guys in mid-sentence, the whole 9 yards, the whole thing came back to life. And I said, and how many police officers were on the scene? He said, 12. I said, EMS personnel? He said, about 15. I said, apparatus, fire apparatus? He said, 6. I said, and everybody has the same story. He said, oh, yeah. He said, I got to talk to everybody I could that night and a couple of days afterwards. And I said, well, what do you think it was? He says, I have no idea. It's just like this light came up and put everything on a stop motion. Done. Everything just stopped. And I said, well, how did you feel? He said, truthfully, he said, I've been a trooper a long time. He said, I was scared to death. He said, I didn't know what was going on. He said, it could have been the end of the world for all I knew. And he said, it's just the way it is. And it wasn't too awful long after that, I got a report from a retired trooper who's now living from Pennsylvania, but now living down in North Carolina. And the night of Todd Cease's disappearance, he and another officer were going to a domestic on the other side of Northumberland Ridge. Picture the ridge. Their call was on one side of the ridge. The Todd Cease case took place on the other side of the ridge. He was not found at that point. And he said, we had to drive up this private road and off the highway. And he said, as we're driving up the road, he said, we can see the valley before the ridge. And he said, we're looking down the valley, and he says, there's this craft. He described it as a craft. He said, had a couple of windows on the side. He said it was nothing. It was no plane. It was no helicopter. It wasn't anything that, from us or anybody else. He said it was very quiet. They stopped, rolled the windows down. They actually got out of the car. And he said just slowly, like 5-10 mile an hour, just went up through the valley and climbed up a little bit and then went back toward the highway and then shot itself back over toward the electrical causeway there, where actually the Todd Cease vehicle was found, his motorcycle, whatever you want to call it. And that, he said, call me. So I called him. And told him what was going on the other side of the ridge at the same time. And he said, I never heard any of that. He said, I didn't even know that was going on. And I said, it was kind of a big deal. We had there was over 250 searchers out there. I mean, everybody, including your guys. He says, strange that we didn't hear anything. I said, well, when you went back to the barracks, did you report this? He says, yeah, we did. He said, well, let's put it this way. He said, I did. When my partner was asked, he just refused to answer. And he said, Lieutenant told him, he said, just forget it. Just forget it. Stories like that are almost very common with police officers. Now, I was on the road for 14 years. I never saw anything. I mean, nothing like that. But then again, I wasn't looking either. But we were down at French Creek State Park testing some new equipment. And the troopers would come through and check on us because we were going to be there all night. And so we're standing there and we're looking straight ahead out. It's a dark sky. It's like the third darkest place in the United States, but we're looking out. There's no light pollution, anything like that. And one of my guys that was with me says, look at that. And he's photographing something shooting across the sky. And the trooper tapped me on the shoulder. He said, what about that one? So I turned around and looked, and there was a bright ball, kind of orangish, reddish, whitish, it was changing like colors. And it was slowly moving across the sky, stopped, dropped, make like a U, and came back up and then took off again and kept on going. And I said to him, you see that stuff often? He said, all the time.
Really?
He said, sometimes we'll see bright lights that'll just drop down into the park. And until we get there, there's nothing there. He said, we have reports of strange things running around in the park. We're still researching down there. We got cameras set up. They've been up now for about 4 months. But, I mean, you get lots of reports from different type of people. And it's like, these guys face all kind of crap. But yet they're telling you about something. You can tell they're physically shaken about it. They're upset. They don't know what it is. They don't know what to do, especially the guy where that accident scene just shut down.
Right.
And and I checked with local newspapers and radio, and everybody knew about the accident, but nothing was ever said about the shutdown. And it lasted a good 5 minutes. That's a long time.
Butch, one of the big things that I have learned through talking to the RCMP officer that I did the other night is the fear of losing the pension. I mean, this is something that when they signed the dotted line to serve and protect, it didn't come with a caveat of aliens, Bigfoot, Dogman, ghosts, UFOs, alphabet agencies. It didn't come with any of that. So, no. I mean, are these gentlemen and ladies who serve and protect, are they prepared for this type of intervention?
I think some of them are. More so now than way before, or, back in my time. But they're, when they're talking to you, they're just, you can tell it's just so strange coming out of, the guy standing there wearing the same uniform I did and telling me this story. And I'm just like, I'm flabbergasted, I'm like trying to get more information. But everyone that we've taken report of, especially from the game wardens and park rangers, I mean, they get a lot of reports. Stuff in the woods, stuff running around the woods, Bigfoot sightings, strange animal sightings, UFOs, just name it. I mean, it runs the whole gamut. But you got to remember that, these guys are out patrolling, maybe 160 acres of forest. That's a lot of territory. And there's usually 2 cars out. And it's kind of amazing that the amount of stuff, the reports they get. And granted, the reports aren't like the time that the sighting was like last night, and they may not get that report for 2 or 3, 4 days, maybe even longer. But it's bizarre that you can only imagine, and there are famous cases of police officers involved in UFO sightings. I believe it's Missouri, it's either Missouri, Wisconsin, or Michigan, where the sheriff's car was hit by a ball of light. And I mean, there was they kept the car is actually in storage, and it's been gone over by the FBI, and everybody else went over the car, and nobody could explain the type of damage that was done to the car. The sheriff's deputy that was in the car, when it got hit, he swerved off and ran off the road into a small ditch and knocked himself out. But it is something that's been going on a long time. And I just think that, especially when these guys retire, that's when they talk. Then they're really talking. The one, well, he belongs to the group now, but he was a federal park ranger for 27 years, I think, 26 years. And I said, just joking with him one night at a meeting, I said, so how many, Bigfoot reports you get this week? He says, none this week, but he said, over 27 years, about 13 or 14. I went, Jesus. And he said, I thought you'd ask. And he whipped out his file, and I got to read all 14 reports. And I mean, it's not like he got the report and he never went to the scene. He got the report and he went out and looked to see what was what, and, look for prints and all that kind of stuff. And he is, there's a lot of them out there. And pilots. Pilots are, that's another group where you can get a ton of information from. Some of them, they changed that. You can't fire a pilot now if he reports a UFO sighting or an unidentified craft sighting or a near collision or whatever, as long as they're not in uniform. If they're in uniform, they can be fired. Done instantly. If they're not in uniform, they can say whatever they want. And that's a federal law. They can't do that. But, all this stuff now is the FAA sends all their stuff out to Bigelow. So if there's a report comes in, say on a near air collision with an unknown craft, that report goes to the FAA, and the FAA turns it around and sends it right out to Bob Bigelow. And God knows what happens for it from there. So,
no, I can definitely see that. But the attitude of the police officer, let's talk about this for a second, because
sure.
For many police officers, and you being a former cop, do you want to report anything like this? Because from what this officer told me is, and this kind of surprised me, he goes, for any file like that, at least up here in Canada with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, there is a booklet about 2 inches thick that they need to fill out for anomalous reports. Have you ever heard of something like that?
Yeah, but it's over in England. The Bobbies over in England have not a manual, but they have a report form. I think it's 100 pages. You list everything. You know, how many bricks did you drive over on the road before you got to the scene? That kind of stuff, which makes no sense to me at all. But I find that most officers that I've talked to over the years that talk about making or want to make a report or ask a question about, when they start asking you questions about something, they saw something. So you just gotta weasel around until you get the information out of them. But some chiefs, some higher ups, they have a tendency to listen to the story. They don't really say anything, yay, nay, or anything else, and then they just let it go. And then there's other chiefs or sergeants or corporal, which will get your can fired in a heartbeat. Because what they use is that, you're delusional. That's what they use. You're delusional. You can't be on duty. You can't be carrying a gun. You're delusional. They almost make a lunatic out of you. And, but, when the guys come to the house or they call me on the phone, that stays here. End of story. I don't care who's knocking on the door and wants the information. Whatever's going here is what goes here, and we're done with that. But it's just amazing. Like I said last month, the amount of calls, the amount of reports, and of everything, crypto reports and UFO sightings of all types of craft, just nuts. And I don't know what's going on, but at least I'm busy.
And I can understand that as we get about 90 seconds to go here. It almost makes me feel sorry for police officers in regards to this, because they are getting hit up from everything. They're getting hit up by their own staff sergeants, or in your case, sheriffs down there. They're getting hit up by alphabet agencies once that report is filed. They're getting hit up by a lot of people, and all they're doing is taking a report.
Yeah. Now, there's ways you can write a report and kind of clean it, that it's not too obvious what you're talking about. Like an unknown shadow in the sky could have been a plane. And then you try to explain your way out of it. Mm-hmm. What you really want to say is the unknown shadow is shaped like a cigar, and it, unbreakable speed and all that stuff. But, there's ways to get around it.
No, I fully agree with you. And, I think that's a good segue into going into our next segment with Butch Witkowski, and we will take questions at the beginning of hour 2, so we're still about half an hour away from that. And in our next segment, a lot of you guys are always asking me out there, how do I investigate? How do I go looking for these creatures? We're going to find out from the man, the myth, and the monster legend, Butch Witkowski from UFO Cop himself. He is posting one heck of a good mustache here. Very tight lip blade. We're very happy with that. It gets all props from us here on the mighty SOR Spaced Out Radio with Butch Witkowski, returns right after this, so stay tuned.
Hey, space travelers,
All right,
this is John
we're
Resig,
clear.
founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly towards life-improving items.
There we go. Lee Poping, what's happening? Ben from UFO Garage says, I would like to order one of your lip blades, please, to go. Hey, Ben, we're going to have to get a T-shirt called the Lip Blade. I just want to check some here. Bear with me, Butch. Come on. And I can understand that as we get about 90 seconds to go. All right, we're clear. That's not what I wanted. Investigate. How do I go looking for these creatures? We're going to find out. I just want to hear the music. Gorgeous Avi May, how's it going? Butch Witkowski from UFO Top himself. Oh, dude, you got to add it to our store, Ben. I got a bunch. Hey, Ben, I got a bunch of stuff on there right now that I can't add. It gets all props from us here on the mighty SOR. Spaced Out Radio. Big Dog, how you doing? Returns right after this, so stay tuned. Okay, so audio is still not getting through. Shoot. All right, we got to figure that issue out. We were working like an hour and a half before the show trying to figure out why my one program is not pushing our music audio over to YouTube. And it's just not making darn sense here, Butch Witkowski. Not making darn sense whatsoever. The Gorgeous Magic Maiden, how are you?
Wow.
Look at that, Butch.
Wow.
Carrie Ann in Central PA says, Butch, I love you. I love you so much, Butch. Your lip blade just makes you look 20 years younger.
You're so weird. What? How much time we got there, boss?
We got about 2.5 minutes. Go pee if you have to, man.
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
All right. There's Uncle Dale and his power stash. Remember, if you are in Austin, Texas, and you see Uncle Dale, who is, if you look at his photo, is the inspiration behind my new look. Uncle Dale and his power stash. If you get that, Santa Claus will bring you a present of your choice if you can find Uncle Dale in Austin, Texas, and rub his power stash for good luck. John Music, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Different program, Jenny. Different program. Awesome Cat Chaser, how are you? Radio. All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio Goo Goo, Radio Gaga. Come on, you got to do that. It's the only way you could sing that song. Mm-hmm. Carfanibre, how are you? Double bass, no Fs, no Cs, and no calling people directly swear words. Otherwise, I don't mind. BBD Warrior, how you been, buddy? Let's get you up on the screen here. There we go. BBD Warrior, everyone. All right, big thank you to Double Tim, Brian, and Phil for the super chats tonight. Really do appreciate it. And it's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. Thank you to all the veterans who have tuned on in. We really appreciate you. And, of course, everybody in our chat rooms. And don't forget, if you are following us, follow us on TikTok as well. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Butch Witkowski from UFO Cop. Butch joins us near the end of each month where we get into all the monster talk on a little ditty we call Strange Days. Butch is based out of Pennsylvania, got one hell of a mustache right now, and we're going to continue on here. Butch, each and every month, I get a lot of people asking, how do you investigate? How do we go about getting into this? How do I go looking for Bigfoot in the forest or little people or Dogman? You know, I want to see something and I want to get involved. How do I do it? How would you tell a complete amateur how to start?
Well, I've had that question 100 times already, but the best way to do it is there are so many organizations in all the states. Find the one that's closest, do a little background on them, go attend one of their meetings. Nobody charges to go to a meeting. For those people, that's the best way to start there. I mean, for people that want to go out on their own, or, you know, them and a cousin or uncle or wife or whatever want to go out and do some chasing, then it's, best thing to do there is, you know, they can get a hold of me or one of my guys, or I can put them in touch with somebody in their area, because we deal with people all over the country. So, the equipment is for start, the equipment's minimal, depending on what you're going to look for. If it's UFOs, Skywatch, telescopes are relatively inexpensive. You can get those for under $100, or you can go up to 15,000 if you want. But binoculars, I mean, all that stuff is kind of cheap. But they need a form. If somebody wants to do that, I'll send them one of our forms. They can copy it. There's no copyright on the form, which tells them all the questions to ask, what to do, what they should be looking for, what they should be measuring, weather, time of day, number of witnesses, multi-witness, single witness, description, hand drawing if they want. I mean, everything's on there. I've sent out a bunch already. And basically they were the people that just wanted to start. And, because if you sat and had to tell them voice to voice over a telephone or via an email and saying that, okay, this is what you need to ask and this is what you need to look for, I mean, you're going to go on. Our report's like 6 pages long. So I just, they tell me what they're looking for. We have separate reports for paranormal. We have separate reports for cryptos. We have separate report for UFOs, and we have separate reports for pretty much everything. So depending on what they want to go look for, whether it's UFOs in the sky, or which is probably the easiest to do, because if they're in an area where they don't have a lot of light pollution, or if they're close to a place that doesn't have light pollution, is where they should be doing their setups. Once they get the hang of it, word gets around and people will start getting contact to them. If they would like, I always ask them, I said, look, if we get anything in your area, do you want me to just ship it to you, or do you want us to handle it? And a lot of times they'll say, you handle it. I said, well, you're never going to learn if you don't handle it. So, but most of them on the round side say, yeah, okay, I'll take care of it. And we have sent out some reports to places where we don't have anybody. Southern Oklahoma is one of them. A young fellow and his wife started out there about 2 years ago. And we've sent him about half a dozen reports already, plus he's getting his own now. And, I always tell him, set up a page on Facebook, or, somehow people can contact you. I said, there's lots of ways to do that. And set up a website, or, a lot of ways to do it. Then they always want to know about starting a group. And I always shake my head. I go unless you know everybody in that group and you've worked with them, and you know the type of person they are and the type of investigator they are, you don't want to do that, because, somewhere along the line, there's a group that's going to start up down the road and the war starts. You got one more report than I did, or my T-shirts are better than yours, or we have better hats, or whatever. And then they're both gone. But they've been at it now for about two years, maybe 3 years. And they're doing really well at it. Photography wise, I always tell them, I said, look, don't go and invest in a lot of, get your cameras, but don't get involved in buying the programs to, discern the photographs or the video. If you have something you want discerned, just send it to me. You got my email, send it to me, and I'll take care of it and send it back to you. And I don't share it with anybody but you. So, and that's another thing. You got to be really honest about how you deal with other investigators, because, like I said, there's always a war going on between one group and another. That's just the way it's always been that way. And or the group splits up, and then this half of the group starts their own group, and we stay away from that totally. We don't get involved in that. I don't discuss other groups because I don't know what they're doing, nor do I care. They do what they want to do. And but as far as people getting a hold of us to I wouldn't say put them in the right direction, but answer questions that they have that we've already went through 1,000 times already. But it's my wife the other day mentioned to me, she said she was going through she does some of my filing, and she says, do you realize that in 30 years, 30 some years, she said, you've taken over 5,000 reports? And I went no. She said, yeah, because we number them and date them. And she said, 5,000, I think it's 5,070 to be exact. So for a newcomer out there, if you think you got something strange, I probably have that report. Maybe not in your area, but I have that report. Whether it's crypto, or it's UFO, or Bigfoot sighting, or whatever other sighting, Dogman, rakes, paranormal garbage that makes me crazy. But it's not really hard to get started in it. It's just that you got to be really, really careful when you start where you make your first connections to. If you make your first connections to some law maniac that, like I said, they're coming out of the woodwork, that is, a dyed-in-the-wool, whatever, researcher, you'll get put on the wrong path right away, and then it's not going to get any better. So, what you want to do is, get your information from somebody that you can trust, or they'll help you out as much as they can. And that's pretty much the best way to start.
This can be a very expensive hobby.
Yes.
Because a lot of people want the toys. They want the gadgets that light up. They want the gear. They want the cameras. Yeah. They want the infrared, the FLIRs. But you don't need that. You don't need that. When your best pair of gear comes from you, your intuition, number one, but your eyes and ears, number 2 and 3, and your smell.
We don't anymore because the group's been together for so long. We don't have to do it anymore. But when I first started, I used to do a training paper every month, send it out. And the one was on questions asked at an investigation. 2 pages long, but tells you how to ask direct questions, indirect questions, what to look for if you think somebody's snowing you. There's just a whole lot of stuff, basically it was just old police information that we passed on. And then there were things like, there were, one was on radioactivity, they were just how-to, basically like a how-to manual, only not a manual. It's just a monthly thing we did. But it was how to use a flare and how to do this and how to do that, and how to make a plaster cast, and in the winter and the summer and in the snow and in the rain, and just a lot of, and always, we did one on equipment, where to get equipment at good prices. There's a ton of used equipment out there, and that comes from people like you were just saying about, they want all the gadgets and the toys and the whistles and the lights splashing and all that stuff. But they don't either know how to use it, or they don't do it anymore. And the stuff is sitting on the shelf in the garage, or they have it on eBay, and I always tell people, I said, if you're gonna invest in something like, say, a laptop, you want to get a military grade type of laptop, one that can take a beating, and because it's going to be bounced around the car, you're probably going to drop it, it's going to get rained on and stuff like that. But it's like you just said. I mean, it can be very expensive. Now, we have trucks and we have all this equipment and stuff like that, and there's nothing we can't go after, but it's that's 30 years worth. It's not like this was started last year. That's 30 years worth. And this stuff don't break. It don't wear out. I mean, there's a weather station in there. Weather is very important in all reports. So, and a lot of times the weather will tell you exactly what you're dealing with. When the guy said, I saw this and I watched it for 10 minutes and it did this and it did that. And then you look at the weather and you find out that the ceiling was only about, 1,000 feet, fog, cloudy, rainy. They couldn't have seen anything up that high. So you know what you're dealing with. And you never call anybody a liar. You just gradually just fade away into the sunset. And they kind of get the hint.
Never mind spending a boatload of money in order to get started. If you were to pick 2 pieces of gear for any rookie out there who wants to just go out in the forest and maybe see if they could capture something, what would you pick? Affordability is definitely at play here.
FLIR. The cheapest ones you can get are the ones that attach to a camera, to a camera phone. They're like $140, $150. If you want to get just a standalone FLIR, like a monocle, they're around anywhere from 300 to 700, depending on which model you get. Binoculars, absolutely, and a small camera. I mean, a small Canon. They're like $115, $120. Just get the waterproof one. That's like $20 more. Because when you go out, it could be a nice sunny day and you're out in the middle of the woods and all of a sudden a storm pops up and you're standing with all wet equipment. A bag to put everything in, pencil and paper. We use Right in the Rain tablets, so they can get wet, they can get rained on. You can throw them in a creek, still write on them with a pencil. Small first aid kit, compass, absolutely. Cell phone, absolutely. So it's really not, probably half the stuff that I just mentioned people already have, with the exception of maybe a FLIR and that kind of stuff. But excuse me. That's pretty much it. I mean, unless you're now, if you're going to a place where there's a good chance that you're going to get a track where somebody says, "Hey, there's footprints here." Well, then you want to take along the stuff to make a cast. But even that's cheap. I mean, that's hardware store stuff. You can buy a pound of plaster Paris for less than $250. So that's pretty much the gamut. It's even less if you're going to do UFO sightings, because that's basically you're looking through binoculars up at the sky and you're documenting. Have a small tape, get yourself a small tape recorder and turn it on, just set it close to you, and you can describe what you're seeing through the binoculars as you're seeing it. And they even have binoculars now with video cams on them. They're not real good for distance. You'll get kind of a 50% shot at a decent film, but I don't ever recommend people to go out by themselves. So if you're going out, you want to have somebody with you, let them use the video cam or the binocular, share the load. And always tell people where you're going. Don't just load up the car and take off into the woods and nobody knows where you're at, or your phone doesn't get service. That stuff happens a lot.
Very
and
true.
There have been people, people don't realize it, but there have been people that have been killed in paranormal sites.
Do you have any stories?
Well, the one that always sticks in my mind, and if I would have been, you always wish you would have been there, because you wanted to just walk up behind the guy in the back of the head, you idiot. So that was in Kentucky, maybe 5-6 years ago. A team, four people on a team, a husband and wife and a boyfriend and a girlfriend, small paranormal team, and they went to investigate a property in an old abandoned town. And most of the places were open. You could go into them, but this one place was locked, so they broke into it, which was a no-no. Always make sure that you got permission to be anywhere you are. And so everybody kind of scatters on the bottom floor doing whatever they're doing. And the one guy, he bolts up the fucking first flight of steps to the second flight of steps and up into the attic. And he took 2 steps and he went right through the floor. And he went through the second floor. And when he hit the bottom, he landed on a chair back, and on his back, on a chair back. And he killed instantly.
No kidding.
And then there was another one that was, I believe that was Sarasota, Florida, I believe. And that was another dumb move where they were investigating I can't remember what they call it, some kind of pit where, it was like a garbage pit that was filled over, like a landfill, not like a big landfill, but local landfill, and he went tromping around down in there, and about 3 months later they found him because the landfill was filled with water, and when he got into it and all the stuff on top of him, he just drowned. That was it. Got to be careful out there.
Butch, is the reason behind a lot of these people dying at investigative sites because it's the investigator's fault, not the fault of the paranormal, not the fault of the cryptids? I mean, every year we see investigators breaking into areas where they're not supposed to go, into condemned buildings where they think, oh, I can handle this. I mean, look, I'm not trying to be a lump on a log or anything like that, but if you're breaking the law to go do an investigation, sometimes, just sometimes, Darwin comes into play.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many cases out there of people have gotten arrested for going into cemeteries, breaking into crypts, digging up graves. Hell, there was not too long ago. There was an outfit that was in a huge cemetery out in Northern California, and they were filming a porn movie. I mean, also one of the things that we also carry with us in our briefcases or packs, whatever we got, is permission slips to go on a property. We try to contact the person that owns the property before time, and then make some kind of appointment where we can get down there and get them to sign off. We're covered by our own insurance and all that stuff. So basically, they're just giving us free reign for, say, 7 o'clock at night until 12 midnight. We can be there, no problem. And they get a copy, we get a copy, and that way, if the cop rolls up, what are you doing out here? Oh, we got paper. You can take a look at it. So you always want to have permission. Don't take it for granted just because there's nobody around that the place isn't owned by somebody, because you can get yourself in a real bunch of trouble real quick. And I always tell people safety and being cautious is number one when you're doing any of this stuff. There's one of my guys, I have to admit, is one of my guys. We were out a few years back, and we were doing a star watch, and everybody's saying, like, well, don't go that way because there's a little cliff there. We don't know how far it goes. Well, my guy, no problem. Down the hole. Get a rope, pull him back up. What a dummy. He wasn't hurt, thank God. But, when somebody tells you don't do that, take it for granted. They know what they're talking about. Don't do that. Don't go up those stairs. And I'll tell you another thing to be cautious of, booby traps. I can't remember how long ago that was, where a paranormal or a group of paranormal teams kept going to this property, and they kept getting warned off. And guy walked in, and he was just about ready to hit the second step on a flight of stairs going up to the second floor. And the other guy stopped him and pulled him back, and he says, look, and there was a rope attached, and the board was loose. And if he would have stepped on the board, what dropped was a sharpened rake. Would have hit him right in the chest or the face, depending on how many steps he took. So, there's people out there at the vindictive. They don't want anybody nosing around their property. But if you get permission, like right now we're setting up a lot of stuff for caving, for doing some caving, but we have permission to go on every one of them in writing. I mean, the only one that there was question about, the guy said, well, he would just like to come and meet us before we go into the cave.
Butch, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Hold on to what? I don't know. Maybe that mustache that you got growing there on the top of your lip. It's a good one. And we appreciate Butch Witkowski coming in for Strange Days as he joins us near the end of each month to tell us about all things weird and strange. And I know, Butch, there is going to be a lot of questions coming up for you because we've hit some hot button topics with our audience tonight. And we're going to get into your questions if you're in one of our chat rooms or on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. Butch Witkowski, Strange Days. Butch from UFO Cup, founder, lead investigator. We're going to have some fun in hour 2 with Big Bad Butch next on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website...
Jurassic Joey, how are you? Good night, Major Lee. We're almost at 200 tonight, Butch.
Wow.
195 right now. 194 on YouTube. Good times. Good times.
I'm still suffering from turkey coma.
I'd like some of that turkey. James Smith, how are you? We are taking questions next. Just do me a favor. Put them in capital letters if you do not mind. Let's see what the clam has for us coming up here. All right. Thanks, Clam, for that amazing, super duper password for tonight. That's why we call him the Clam around here. I hate it when you can't get two programs to talk to each other.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I'm going to try something here, people, and I want you to tell me if this is going to work, okay? Just do me a favor. Tell me if this works. If I do this, can you hear this?
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Fall, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on.
Here's something
Make sure you
faint,
keep on listening,
really
because
faint.
with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
All right, well, that didn't work. All right, well, that didn't work. Trying experiments here, people. Says that's supposed to work. Says it's supposed to work.
Got a hammer?
No. You can share music and other sources using a tab in Chrome. Okay. Video. All right. Click Chrome tab. What the hell is the Chrome tab in here? Share screen. Click Chrome tab at top. Select your music tab. I don't get that. I have to play with this. Maybe tomorrow. No, the tab's not muted. I'm not having my radio DJ program speak to StreamYard. That's the problem. We got 1 minute, Butch.
Okay.
Hi, Miss Pickles. Always a pleasure when you're here. Oh, hold on. Gail's messaging us. Gail, I'm in the middle of a show here. If you don't mind, in the middle of a show. No, John, I never do call-ins. I never do call-ins. Biggest reason why is because every time I do, nobody calls in. Big thank you to Spooky, to Phil, to Brian, and Double Tim for the amazing super chats tonight. We really do appreciate it. And David Lopez, nice to see you here. And we're going to get going here, so I'll hear the music. You won't, but it'll sound good on the podcast. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Quatrail. Quatrail is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We bring in Butch Witkowski at Strange Days as Butch comes in near the end of each month to discuss everything from monsters to legends to folklore. We're going to take your questions as well here in hour 2. He is the founder of UFO Cop in Pennsylvania, and Butch just loves hanging out with us. We kind of like him around here, and for some reason, he likes us as well. Butch, welcome back.
Yes, sir.
As we wait for audience questions here, I want to ask you in regards to, we only have one more show with you in 2019, or 2019, what year am I in? 2021, after this. But looking back on 2021, what kind of year has this been for you as an investigator?
For the first few months, and a lot of it I'll have to attribute to recuperation from this friggin' heart attack. But it really picked up in the last 6 months, 7 months, where just a whole lot of stuff has gone on. Like I said, it was everything from saucers to triangles to things running around the woods that people can't explain, coy wolves, bipedals, paranormal stuff. I've just been busy, That's, I got stuff to do out, that we're revamping the inside of the truck with some more equipment, monitors and stuff, and cameras. And, I get out there and I want to spend the whole day out there, and I'm out there for an hour and the phone's ringing and I'm all tied up. But it's been very busy. Hope it stays that way. It goes nice when it's busy, because it gives me stuff to talk about when I come on the radio.
No kidding. Let's start the questions off with our audience here. Okay. This one comes from Double Bass. Could the origins of Dogman come from Anubis mating with a wild wolf? That's the only theory that explains this creature.
That explanation has probably been around for a long, long time. I mean, Anubis goes back, well, at first they said 4,500 years, but now it's more like 10,000 years. So, when you start talking about bipedal, I mean, look at Anubis, and yeah, there's definitely a connection there somehow. But then that takes you into the whole thing of planet Egypt. Many researchers, especially the ancient alien guys, all say that everything started with Egypt, even when it wasn't even Egypt. And one of the things that always amazed me, and I don't know, remember even when I heard it years ago, but never, ever in the history of Egypt has a pharaoh been found inside of a pyramid. Never. They were all buried in the Valley of the Kings in Luxor. That's where they were all found. And they feel that as the original origins of the pyramids with their alignments to star systems, and the last thing I heard on it was they pretty much think they were some kind of power generators. I'm not an archaeologist, but it does fascinate me.
The funny part about it is, before we get to the next question, Butch, is a lot of people, from soldiers to experiencers and even investigators, have claimed to not only see Dogman, but these Anubis-type creatures who are wearing body armor, who are carrying around giant swords that are vicious and violent. I mean, it sounds right out of a sci-fi thriller-type movie, but these are people who are seeing these with their own eyes. How much stock do you put in those stories?
Well, I always put stock in a story, especially when there's more than one person telling that story. I believe it was in Iran or Iraq where a vehicle was struck by a sword-wielding Anubis-type creature, and it pretty much hacked into the hood of the vehicle. And the one guy was totally hysterical. He's probably still committed somewhere in a nice little rubber room because he lost it. So, and that's another thing, I often thought about what am I going to do if I come face to face with something like that? My standard answer to that question is I'm just going to throw him a tennis ball and say fetch, and then beat it back to the truck. But you don't know. You're putting yourself in a position that you'll probably never be in, but then again, never say never. I know guys that, been out there, been looking for Bigfoot for years and years and years. And, they say the same thing, what if I do if I see one or if I come in contact with one? they asking me what to do. I haven't got a clue. I've never been in that position. So, I mean, things that are in the sky, I always tell people if they get close, run. Just run. Get away. But they never get close. I mean, they're always up there. So, that answers that.
Oh, I hear you, my friend. I hear you. All right, let's get to another question here from Phil Minervino. Do Bigfoot give off scent?
Well, yeah, the people that have reported them, they all come up with the same thing. It's like a wet dog smell, musty, wet dog. I've seen a couple reports where they say it was like walking past a cesspool, but I've never had the honor of getting a whiff. Not that I'm looking for it, but that everybody kind of says the same thing. It's just like smelling a wet, mildewy dog, or something cesspoolish like.
Okay. A lot of people say it smells like skunk. Have you ever been around that?
No, I have not. Well, there was this one girl I dated in high school. Never mind.
No.
That's another story.
No, we're leaving Godzilla alone today. I got in trouble for that. I got in trouble for Godzilla. Anyways, moving on. Let's go to Miss Pickles here. Let's talk about CERN. Do you think they're opening portals and banging atoms together to try and find the God particles?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's their whole purpose. I just want to know what they're going to do if they do find it, or what's going to happen. They've come close.
Do you think this is a reason why we're seeing so many people being affected by what they call the Mandela effect?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So for people who may not know, explain the Mandela effect.
Well, it depends on who you're asking. I mean, my knowledge of the Mandela effect is like, you put it in a thimble. I mean, there's books on the Mandela effect. When it just seems like when you're messing with portals and doorways and CERN, the weather control up in Alaska, with the antennas, there's just nobody really has a good answer. They just pop out with something like, well, this could happen, or that may happen, or we could find this out, or maybe we won't find it. I mean, you just get talked around in circles. And but CERN, I have a real problem with that. I mean, you're smashing atoms and doing this, and like Jeff just said, HAARP. That's what I was looking for. I mean, there's no excuse for this stuff. And they say, well, it doesn't really do anything. Well, if it doesn't do anything, why'd you spend billions of dollars to put it there? And why is it still in operation? They said HAARP shut down years ago. No, HAARP didn't shut down years ago. There was just an investigative team that was up there from Sweden about a year ago doing all kinds of tests. It's totally operational. So if they're trying to control weather, it's either got a military purpose or God knows what other purpose they'd use it for. But that's weird, just weird. But CERN, I have a problem with CERN.
Have you ever had a Mandela effect happen to you?
No. Have you?
Yes. I got two. Number one, I have a Ford key from the old days.
Okay.
The Ford logo on the F has a little curly Q. Like the Dairy Queen, it has a curly Q. Mm-hmm. This key has no curly Q. Ford says that the curlicue has been there forever, since the invention of the logo. That's one.
Yeah.
Number two was a few months ago, I was interviewing a friend of yours and a friend of mine, David Weatherly.
Yes.
And I was scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, one of the two, and I saw a new book of his called Monsters of the Great Lakes. And I talked to him before showtime, like I call you and every other guest before showtime. And I said, David, I'm really excited to talk about your new book on Monsters of the Great Lakes, because I just seen it a couple hours previous on social media. And he goes, yeah, that's a great topic, Dave. Problem is, I've never written a book on it. And clear as day, I saw the photo with the cover of like a sea monster looking like a dinosaur. Okay, coming out of the water, mouth open, teeth sticking out. And at the bottom it says, by David Weatherly. Do you think I can find the post now? And he swears he has never written that book. What did I see?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff out there. I mean, a guy drugged me through the woods one time to look at a pair of steps that went nowhere, and showed me a picture of these steps. There's 8 of them, just from the ground up to about the middle of a big tree. And they stopped. There's nothing there. No house, no foundation or anything like that. We went right to the spot. Wasn't there. There was no sign of anything being there. The picture was 35 millimeter. It wasn't a digital. And I said, so where's the stairs? He said, they were right there. He said, there's the tree. You look at the tree, and the tree's exactly like the tree that's there. And then there's there's a little walk, like a little trail that goes off to the left, and that's there in the picture. But there's no steps.
All right, let's continue.
There's so much that we don't know, Dave. Seriously, it's weird. But anyway,
it very much is. Let's go to another question here. Steven is asking, what's your thoughts on Valiant Thor from Venus?
That whole Venus thing. I mean, I know the guy that wrote the books. He's a heck of a nice guy. He really is. But when somebody tells me that, you know, they'll call and leave a message, Butch, I won't be talking to you for a little bit. I'm going to Venus. I'm spending a month there. What do you say to a guy like that?
Can I come too?
Yeah. And then, you know, there's pictures out there of these two women that evidently are from Venus that have been living here for a couple hundred years. And there's just, I don't know. I guess Venus was just ripe for the picking at the time. I don't know. But I have 2 of his books that he sent me. And to be very honest with you, I never even opened them. And that's the truth. Because it's somebody's fantasy. So.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. David is wondering, do you think there's any truth to the Kandahar giants?
It depends which story they're telling. There's like 4 or 5 different renditions of the Kandahar giant. But if you look back in way back in history, there were giants that were out, that roamed the earth. Not, I mean, a lot of people say, well, you're talking about the Nephilim. No, I'm not talking about Nephilim. I'm talking about human beings that just walked around. They were just huge. And the fact that the stuff was all sent to the Smithsonian Museum, and they lost everything. How do you lose that stuff? I mean, give me a break. Yeah, there's no way you got somebody that's 10 foot tall, and you got the skeleton, but if you put all the flesh on them, you're talking about a couple 100 pounds, and they lost it. And they didn't just lose one; they lost them all. So, yeah,
it makes you frustrated, eh?
Yes.
All right, let's go to TMI. Butch, what do you think about Mothman?
Well, there's been so many stories over Mothman. People have seen something. I think some of the folks that I deal with have put it down to a large owl. Now, could that be? Yeah, maybe. You're driving down the road and something's flying alongside the car. You're looking at it, and it could be that big, and in your mind, it's that big. A lot of people say it's a harbinger. When the bridge went down, it was seen on the bridge a few days before that. There was a fire where it was seen again at that point, but it hasn't been seen in a long time. Two of my guys go down to their deal they have down in West Virginia every year, and at Point Pleasant, and there's not been any recent sightings. I mean, a lot of this stuff is a few years old, but look at all the stuff that's going on out in Chicago. Look at all the reports out there of stuff flying around the skies. I mean, they're all over the place. So, could Mothman be something? I guess it could. Could be anything. I mean, the description is the same. That's one thing. But where I have a problem with that is when the very first sighting took place, where the guy and his girlfriend made the first report, it was published in the newspaper. And then the police put an article in the newspaper, and everybody from there on, it was like Me Too-isms. I saw it too. Me too. I saw it. So, and there's never been a clear picture of this thing. Now, there is one video out there where there's two large birds take off from a tree, and they say that that's proof positive that there is such a thing as Mothman. Well, all you see is two birds in a tree that take off into the sky. There's no way from the video you can tell how big they are, even though the guy's saying they're gigantic, they're as big as an airplane. Well, no. I mean, Thunderbirds, that's a different story. You got people should really go looking or go on Google and Google up a condor and look at the wingspan on a condor. And they've been seen on the East Coast because they get trapped in a flow of air from Northern California, and they just follow that air all the way into the East Coast. They've been seen in Philadelphia.
We got 1 minute to go here. I want to get a question from Kat the Kit. She's asking, Butch, who do you think that the paranormal door is for everyone? Do you think it opens easily and closes easily for people?
I think it's a mindset. I know people have been at it for a long time, never saw a thing, nothing. And then there's people that go out and they get EVPs and they get video and they get everything. I think people that do that kind of work, the paranormal stuff, really got to have an open mind. They really got to, because they see something that looks like the shadow of a man, and it's a coat hanging off a hanger on the door on the other side of the room. But they didn't see the coat. All they see is the shadow. and then all of a sudden you got a shadow man report. But it's just, I just think your mind has to be in the right place. You have to be thinking what you're looking for.
Butch Witkowski's Strange Days continues on Spaced Out Radio. When we return, we'll continue with audience questions. There's some good ones out there, and Butch will have the answers for you. UFO Cop is Butch's theme. Strange Days with Butch Witkowski continues right after this.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thorne.
We hit 2:05. Butch, I'm just going to run, and I got to blow my nose. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Go. I can somewhat breathe. The idea of Vicks in the old nostrils. It soothes it. Soothes it. That's our next question, by the way. We'll get to it here when we come back, okay? Hi, Gorgeous Wagon Breath. How are you? Who else has come on in here? Commonwealth Andrew, good morning to you. Low Pro, how you doing? Brazel Hov, nice to see you. And Lazarus, how you doing, buddy? Good to have you here. Justin S., good to see you. And let's see, who else is here? I haven't said hello to yet. Aaron, the original. How you doing, buddy? Hope you find the new sandwiches in the fridge. They're fresh. Zenzabil, good to see you. Oh, my goodness. I didn't realize I was this behind. It's a chat room that just keeps going. And I think we're almost got Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. There he is, everyone. Give us a bow, Super Duke. Cashew, good to see you again. Arjuna, how you doing, buddy? There we go. I think we're caught up there, Butchie Butch.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's good. That is good. I wonder. Options. That just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Chad Smith, I may have an audio question for you after the show. Just so you know. Derek Ning, what's happening? Chris Mo from Austria, how are you? The gorgeous Larry Schulte is here. Excuse me. Chad, I cannot seem to connect my radio DJ audio to StreamYard. I'm struggling with that right now. If you can study up on that, that'd be great. Radio DJ to StreamYard. All right, Butch, we got 30 seconds. I want to say a big thank you to Spooky Morales, Phil, Brian, and Double Tim for the amazing Super Chats tonight. The Super Chat is always a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. We're going to continue with audience questions right after this. Thank you to our new subscribers and our new subscribers on TikTok as well, and all the veterans out there tuning us in. Remember, you always have a safe home in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. Here we go, everybody. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, reach out to and read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the man, the myth, and the legend, Butch Witkowski in Strange Days. Butch joins us near the end of each month to go over the strange and weirdness of the month that was. His team is called UFO Cop. That's UFORCOP. And Butch, thank you so much for joining us, bud.
Always a pleasure.
Always good to have you here. Always good to have you here. All right, let's start off with a question from John. What do you think about Robert Bigelow's team seeing a large winged creature in a tree above where some cows were on Skinwalker Ranch?
Well, the whole team said that's what they saw. I mean, they saw what they saw. Now, what the large winged creature was, there's really never even been a description of it other than it was large and it was a creature and it was very big and it looked like it weighed over 100 pounds, something like. I don't know how they came up with that, but you know, they report what they see, and you know, discerning what they're seeing that's a whole nother ball game. I mean, if they would have had, like I said, it was a vulture, a turkey vulture, or a vulture, or a condor, or an eagle, or whatever, I'm sure they would have said that. But they really didn't describe it. They just said it was a large winged creature.
It almost sounds like a pterodactyl.
Yeah, I just got done working on a photograph. I turned it over to Lon. Well, I got it from Lon. I turned it over back to him, and he said, "What do you make of it?" And I worked on it for a few hours, and I said, I thought it'd never come out of my mouth. I said that I'd never say anything like this. I said, but you know what? It looks like a dragon. And that's exactly what it looked like. And not only do I have the original print of the photograph. That wasn't a camera phone. It was a camera.
All right.
And
go ahead.
No, I'm just going like, no, dragons. Oh, brother. What else?
All right. Let's move on here, and let's go to our Spreaker chat room where Cat the Kit, or pardon me, Justin is asking, Jeff, sorry, if I can get the name right, third time's a charm. Butch, have you ever sent a FOIA request to the government? And if so, did you get a helpful response?
Yeah, probably about 40 or 50 of them over the time. Maybe 10 of those were helpful, but the rest of them, I mean, I had one come back and said they didn't understand it because the spelling was, a couple things were misspelled. I'm going like, give me a break, misspelled. I've had them come back, no record found. I've had them come back, records lost in a fire. I don't know what fire they're talking about. And Black Vault, he has the same problem. He gets stuff back that makes no sense. But some of the stuff comes back. It's you ask the question, you got the answer.
Very true. Very true. Okay, let's go to another question from Tony in the United Kingdom. Do you think the authorities are coming around to confirm Sasquatch?
I have to think on that one. I would say they wouldn't be the authorities, but there's probably a lot of long-time researchers out there that would like to see that stuff being confirmed. I mean, there's some of the reports, and I'm not talking about stories now. I'm talking about reports that are either multi-witness or they're just almost too good to be true. But when you get multi-witness reports and, like the two witnesses aren't together, this guy lives on a farm 5 miles away and this guy, and he sees the same thing this guy sees 5 miles away. And then there's investigators out there that have had their sightings. Alon was one of them, had his sighting down there in when he was living down in Delaware. There's something out there. I know you'd agree with me on that. There's just too many things that happen that have been seen, not to complete the report, but enough to get you to sit down and think and go like, this could be. And then, they're the best one is that I always tell this story is a professional photographer who really knew his stuff, had the top of the line equipment, and went out and did his Bigfoot research pretty much every weekend and zeroed in on one with a hell of a camera. I mean, you're talking about a $10,000 lens, and you could when he snapped the picture, which was between a bunch of pine trees and a bunch of leafy bushes in front of them, you could see the veins in the leaves. That's how clear that picture was. Where the Bigfoot was standing was just a blur. Just a blur. You could see it had form, but not precise form, but a form, and it was blurred. But you could see on every leaf, you could see the branches, you could see, the notches on the branches, you could see everything except what was in the center of that picture.
Wow. It's crazy. It kind of leads to the whole predator factor. These blob squatches or these I'm forgetting the terminology that people are using for this these days. Interesting, Butch. Very interesting. Let's get to another question. 5900 is asking, with so many reports that these creatures have mind speak, how can this ever be discounted?
It can't, because with the reports that we have on the bipedal canine, which I'm unbelievably familiar with, every witness that we put the creature in danger, in other words, they had a weapon, and they all had the same thing, all said the same thing. In their mind, they were told, don't shoot, don't don't do anything dumb. You know, one guy had it in his sight, in his scope. He said, I could have blown his head off. And he said, the minute I raised the rifle and took the safety off, he said, that just came right into my head. Like somebody told me, don't do it. But this ain't going to turn out real well. So is there such a thing that they can communicate? Yeah, maybe. Don't know enough about them yet. But do know one thing for sure. They've been around for a long time.
Okay. With the mind speak that is out there, have you ever experienced that or been in a group investigating where somebody got that? No,
it's always been in reports. And only reports where we had the individual or individuals that were on the scene when it took place that had weapons were, they all had the same feeling, the same thought. Don't do it. The very first report we had where the guy went back the next day with 3 of his buddies armed to the teeth, you know, and they walked in and next thing you know, they're backing themselves out. They all said the same thing. If we would open fire on anything, we were going to lose that battle. So it was already a mindset, you know, that whatever they were thinking of doing or shooting at or whatever was not going to work out well at all. Guy in the tree that was in the tree stand, it was right below him. He was right above it by about 15, 20 feet. 30-06 high-powered rifle, pointed down. He said could have blown the top of his head right off. It growled, put the safety back on, put the gun down, and he had the same thought. Don't do it. Just don't do it. So is it something that the communication is coming from the creature? Probably. There's nobody else there but him. The other place where it was 2 guys was a park ranger and his buddy checking over a new a pathway, a walkway that was being put into one of the parks, southeastern Pennsylvania, and they were followed by one, and he had a 40 Glock on his hip, and the minute he put his hand on it, same thing. Don't do it. Just go. Just leave. And he did.
That's just weird, man. That is just weird stuff. All right, Shar wants to know, have you heard about Dogman or other cryptids being the result of Satanists mixing human sperm with animals?
No, that's a new one to me. Never heard that one.
I want to know what she was on to come up with that question. I'm teasing, Shar. I am totally teasing. That is, I've never heard that question before. All right. You don't want to go there? I mean, that's no. That's right up your woo, but
yeah, no, that's weird.
All right, Big J wants to know, what do you know about Pine Gap in Australia?
You wouldn't get 10 feet past the gate before somebody shoots you. That makes Area 51 look like a playground. They don't have a whole lot of signs up there. Their signs are very distinct. You pass this line, you will be shot. End of story. Deadly force has been authorized. And it's not like it's just like those guys down there. I mean, we're involved down there. I mean, there's the Japanese are down there. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 different countries that occupy Pine Gap. But boy, I'll tell you what, it's tight as a drum. You don't hear things you usually hear about that. Came out of somebody's storybook, because nobody nobody has been in there on any investigations. And I've read a book where a guy said, yeah, I was there for 2 weeks. Yeah, right. But they tell you, don't cross the line. And there's a place, I can't think of the name of it. It's all in outside, right outside of London, that does something for Pine Gap. And I think it has something to do with cryptology, something like that. But that's another place where Giorgio Tsoukalos tried to get in there. He didn't step foot out of his car right, and there were guys on him. And it was just, he drove up this road, nice trees, like a nice little country road, and he pulled over, he got out, and these guys were just right there. And they were all armed. And they said, you need to leave. That's all they said, and he left. And Nick Pope, who was the guy that sent him in there, said, I told you, you're not getting in there. But there's just, we got places in Pennsylvania that you can't go. And but I learned my lesson. I got screwing around one time on the computer and lost a computer through it.
All right, let's go to Robin's question. What do you think about the Thunderbird?
Oh, Thunderbirds are real. I mean, the condor. There's a lot of big birds out there, but the Thunderbirds, people say, well, they're folklore. Well, they're probably not folklore, but they've been around in the indigenous tribes for hundreds and hundreds of years. I mean, they were worshipped as they could be a blessing or they could be a disaster. But Thunderbirds are Thunderbirds. What exact bird it is, nobody ever says. But when you look at the beaks on the totem poles and stuff, they're all pretty much similar. So a lot of people think it's just a condor or or large eagle or something like that. Surprisingly, there are more in Canada than there are in the United States.
I doubt that.
No, seriously. There was an article not too long ago. I forget what tribe it was. It wasn't Hopi. I can't remember which tribe it was. Said that they were teaching their young men how to make the totem poles, because there were more totem poles in Canada than the indigenous in Canada than there were here, especially in the Northern Territories.
I don't buy it. Now, I know in northern British Columbia, there has been sightings of what they call the ropin, pterodactyl-type beings that have their stomachs that glow, a reddish orange. And these apparently, according to Jonathan Whitcomb, have a territory that spreads right down to Texas and Mexico and all the way across the Pacific, heading over towards the islands from like New Zealand, Tasmania, and all of the islands in that area.
Wow. I have to look at that one.
Yeah. Ropin, R-O-P-E-N. It's kind of cool. Now, according to legend, and there's only one author who's ever written about this. We're trying to get him on the show. He states that a couple of the First Nations up there believe that a lot of their people are going missing because they're pterodactyl food.
Well, it sounds about right. Pterodactyls will eat just about anything, and they attack anything. I mean, I don't know where I read it years ago, where it was a book on dinosaurs, and it was mainly about who ran the roost, and it was the flying pterodactyls that were they were the most vicious. They'd go after anything. Didn't matter. Didn't matter how big they were. They'd attack anything.
All right, let's move on here on Spaced Out Radio. Carrie Ann is asking, have you, Butch, ever seen or heard of three-toed elongated tracks in Pennsylvania?
Yes, I have a cast of one.
Okay, you got to explain this to us. This is new to me.
It was, I can't remember what year it was now, but it was found in western Pennsylvania, Greene County. Definitely three-toed, wide. Nobody can put anything to it. I mean, the cast has been shared with many researchers, and nobody can come up with what it could be. It's definitely not a bird. It shows no claw marks. And it was a good cast. I think it was in the late 60s, early 70s when it was found, and there was only one print. There was where it was found. There was a small wet area, like a little marshy area, and then past. So one print had to be in the marsh area because this would have been the right print. Just the way it looks like the right print would have been on the other side of that marshy area, which is where they retrieved the cast. Stan Gordon was the guy that retrieved the cast.
Let's go to Ted's question. So we got about 3 minutes to go before we got to go to break here at the top of the hour. Butch Witkowski, Strange Days. Ted is asking, Butch, I willed myself to have an out-of-body experience to deal with a shadow man, jinn, that followed me back from Iraq. Thank you for your service, Ted. I beat it to hell. Ever hear anything like this? Thank you, and a great show.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was in Kansas. I spoke at a conference out there, and there was a tanker, veteran of the war, the Iraq War, and similar experience where just things started going bad the minute he stepped on the plane to come back home. And for about a year, he pretty much thought he was going crazy, but he hooked up with Mary Ellen Guiley, and they got it worked out. I don't know how they got it worked out, but they got it worked out. But where he think it attacked the jinn attached itself to him was they were in one of the small towns, clearing the town out of the bad guys, and the one mosque they went into. His words, I just didn't want to go in there, but I had to, and that's where he figured it attached itself. There's a lot of reports like that out there. Strange lights, going between vehicles on the road while they're driving. Tankers parked for the night. Lights overhead. It just seems like wherever there's you had the Foo Fighters, so wherever there seems to be a conflict, and it works with the paranormal too, wherever there's been a conflict or a large amount of death, there's always some type of activity, whether it be paranormal or UFO or whatever. And it's just like one guy said, why do you think so many people, paranormal investigators, go down to Gettysburg? Because they see stuff. They hear stuff. They photograph things. And, some of the photographs out of Gettysburg, you can't destroy them. I mean, they are what they are. I mean, guy and his wife parked there in the car, and they just had the camera going and mounted in the dashboard cam, and you can see the guy walk right out between two cannon, He's dressed in Confederate uniform, walks around to the other side of the canyon, and then just disappears.
Butch, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We'll continue with audience questions when we return for the final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Butch Witkowski's Strange Days continues for another 30 minutes. Then at the bottom of the hour, we are going to go and join the fedora-wearing John Hudson for the unbiased UFO report. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio with Butch Witkowski continues right after this.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will...
All right. Better get myself ready. 1 second here. Having fun yet, Butchie Poo?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. You're doing awesome tonight, bud.
I just look at one of the questions up here. Said, "What's a Nubis?"
Just
No, not Nubis.
no answering questions during the breaks, man. No answering questions during the breaks.
That's not a question. It's not in caps.
Mm.
I think he's asking somebody else.
Mm.
How much time we got there, Chief?
We got about 4 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to kick the dachshund out the back door.
Sure. You go.
Oh, boy.
Love your question there, Chris Moe. I am going to ask Butch that.
I think my dog hates me.
Mine doesn't hate me. He just doesn't want to listen. At his age, he's like, shut up.
You know, I open the door, let him out. And he hits that cold patio. I could have swore he turned around and gave me the finger, but...
Wouldn't surprise me.
He's 19 years old. I ain't going to break him of anything.
All right, we got about 2 minutes, Butch.
Okay. Just reading that question.
That one we can answer during the break. On a scale from 0 to 10, how cranky am I making you tonight?
Nah, you don't make me cranky.
Come on.
I get there on my own.
Come on. All right. Latro, welcome to our channel tonight. Appreciate that. Hi, Aiden. How are you? Who else do we have in here that's just hopped on in? Stephen Finnegan. What's happening? Thank you for joining us. Any relation to the gorgeous Tammy Finnegan? Let us know. Let's see here. Armando, what's happening, buddy? And Eddie Haskell, good to see you. Oh, this is Steven's first time watching us live. Right on, dude. Thank you so much. Let's see. Grey Wolf Paranormal, Kaysen, how are you, buddy? Let's see. Who else has joined us? As we're running out of time here, and I'm running way behind. The gorgeous Carol, good to see you. Stunning Teresa, nice to have you here. That's about all I'm going to get to. Thank you to Spooky, to Phil, Brian, and Tim for the amazing super chats tonight. Really do appreciate it. I'm way behind in the chat room, so if I haven't got to your question, just stay right there. I'll try and get to it. There will be new swag coming up. We're just having some problems with our store, Tammy. Thank you to all the veterans who are listening in. You always got a safe home here. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Thank you so much for tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Quatrail. Quatrail is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we introduce Butch Witkowski's Strange Days. Butch comes on in, rubs shoulders with the best of our audience, and, licks his mustache, talks some monsters, and then we get going with another show. That's what we're doing here as Butch joins us near the end of each month here on Spaced Out Radio. Butch, welcome back.
Yes, sir.
All right. Questions
More
from
questions.
our audience. We got a good one here. Braziloff is asking, Butch, do you have any juicy stories from Superstition Mountains, Arizona?
Well, I lived out in Arizona for a while. I've been to the Superstition Mountains, but the stories out there range from everything from hidden gold to ghosts, all kind of paranormal stuff, UFO sightings. I mean, that whole area, it's just, you even get a weird feeling when you're there. Like, it's almost like you don't belong there, like go home. We don't want you here. But there's a great book. If you go on Google Arizona, what's it called? Arizona Trails, Superstition Mountains. And it's a large book, but boy, I'll tell you what, it's a great book because there's so many stories about the Superstition Mountains, and there's still people who go out there looking for gold.
Same as around here. There are so many areas along the Gold Rush Trail, man, where people are still hunting for gold that may have been hidden by any type of prospector back in the day who didn't want to get robbed or killed for their gold. They think it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, let's move on to another question. Butch, this is from Big Dog. Have you ever heard about monster hunters?
No, I can't say that I have.
Okay, I have. So our good friend Swamp Dweller, who has a creepypasta YouTube channel, doing very well, successful. He has been in contact over the last couple of years with a gentleman who claims that he is in a monster hunting team. And literally, they try and communicate with monsters. Sometimes they fight with the monsters. I mean, it's hard to explain to really understand what this is all about. But apparently, it's a team of specialized people who literally go out into the forest and, if they have to, crack some heads on these monsters. And it's weird because I want to believe it. If it is true, I want to join it. But apparently it's a very secretive type group that's out there.
I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, I'll pass you the link on that for you to check out. And the stories are incredible. There's hours upon hours upon hours of stories of what these monster hunters have done.
Huh. Sounds interesting.
All right. All the way from Sri Lanka, our favorite Sri Lankan, Kason, is asking, what is your opinion on the Bigfoot and the ET connection?
Well...
Pardon me, UFO connection. I apologize.
Okay. There has been a number of reports over the years where craft have landed and a Bigfoot has gotten out of the craft, or one report, I think that was from Ohio, was a Bigfoot was seen actually piloting a spacecraft. There's a number of those reports out there. I don't know what to make of them because, I don't have access to those reports. I think one is from Stan Gordon's, but I have to look on his website and go back and see if it's if that's what it was all about. But I'm pretty sure it was, where Bigfoot was seen getting out of a craft and just walking away and kind of just disappearing. But that's pretty much all I know about those. But I know there are some reports like that. But my opinion, I think it's all connected. Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, cryptozoology, there's a connection for all of them. They're all connected somehow or another.
Not just Chewbacca. Not at all. Stephen in the UK is asking, do you have any British cryptid stories that you could share?
Well, the one that we've actually been working on one for over a year now, where instead of cattle mutilations, they're actually sheep mutilations, and pretty much the same as our cattle mutilations here in the U.S., with one exception, that there are 3 holes behind the right ear of each cadaver found, and the brain is missing. Besides all the other stuff which mimics our reports, except we never had anything like that where a brain was removed. And pretty much all the reports come out of the British Isles. And they're all sheep. There's no cattle involved, no horses or anything like that, just sheep.
It's grotesque.
Mm-hmm.
Thin Lizzie is asking, have you ever been visited by the Men in Black?
Yeah, on my wedding day. Oh no, that was another story. No, I have not. I've had a strange phone call, but no, I had no visit.
Tell us about the phone call.
It was I was investigating a sighting in western Pennsylvania, and I got a call from one of Bigelow's investigators, and we were talking a little bit about that report, and then we got on to human mutilation and stuff like that. And at that point, I guess I was pretty much the only one that was doing it. And he said, you ought to stay away from that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I've been told that again. A couple of people told me that. But about an hour later, the phone rang. Picked it up and looked on the phone, and there was no number. And I thought that was kind of strange, but I answered it. And the voice on the other end said, you should heed the warning. I said, the warning on what? He said, on the human mutilations. And the phone hung up. And I called the number back, and it just didn't go anywhere. Just dead air. I guess somebody just trying to tell me to be a good boy.
No kidding. Were you a good boy after that?
No. Never have been. No.
All right, David is wondering, are you aware of any cryptids in Arizona?
Oh, yeah, there's all kinds. Large cats, Bigfoot, bipedal canines, large snakes, lizards. A lot of stuff out in Arizona. UFOs, a lot. Tons of them.
Don't they also have these little raptors running around there in the south near the Texas border?
Yes. Yeah, right along the Texas border. Yeah, right off I-10.
How come we're not hearing more reports about those things?
Well, just the word raptor makes you think twice about going to look for something that has raptor in its name.
Would you?
No.
I don't. You know what? I'm not a proponent for shooting these cryptids, but I think if I went for those little raptors, I definitely want an AR-15 with me.
The only thing about raptors is raptors have never hunted alone. Raptors always hunt in a pack, just like wolves.
That's what I'm saying.
You'll run into one, and while you're trying to get away from the one, the other ones have already surrounded you and, got their napkins around their neck and their knife and fork out, and they're ready to go.
All right, let's go to another question. Double Bass is asking, what about Lizard Man or Scape or Swamp? From Scape or Swamp.
Lizard Man reports from Ohio down, all the way down to Mississippi, down to Florida. I mean, they're abundant. If you just Google Lizard Man, you'll get stories that go from the Great Lakes all the way down to Florida and everywhere in between. Ohio, the one where the lady was pulled underwater, and when they pulled her out, she had all kind of claw marks on her legs and stuff like that. That's, it's a good report, but it only happened once. Although I think that's the same report where the lady and the gentleman that jumped in to pull her out, I think it was the lady that got a glimpse of it, and she described, like the creature from the Black Lagoon type of creature.
All right, let's move on here. Toe Tag wants to know, is Chupacabra real or myth?
I'm going to say Chupacabra's a myth. And the the pictures that you see on the internet of the alleged chupacabra are actually hairless Mexican dogs. If you punch up a picture of a hairless, but I can't even pronounce what they're called in Mexican, but if you punch up a picture of a Mexican hairless dog and look at the creatures that they've captured or shot or got hit by vehicles, it's the same animal, just a hairless dog, but they're large. And, anything hairless is nasty looking. You see a bear that lost its hair. I mean, totally weird. But
yourself,
I think it's just something that developed in folklore over time and just kept on moving.
All right. Grandmaster wants to know, what about orbs and rods? Do you believe in that phenomena?
Orbs, I've seen a bunch of those. Never saw a rod, but there is, if you, and I think you can download the book for free on Amazon. Google in on Amazon, just put in rods in Japan. And there's 2 researchers out there that have been working on that for, oh my God, 10 or 15 years. And some stuff they can explain, some stuff they can't. It's not a big book, like 60, 70 pages, but it's a really good read. But if you have any questions on that's the way to go.
Looks good. Okay, continuing on here. Grandmaster wants to know, what do you know about high-powered laser summoning?
Seems to work. We have 2 high-powered lasers that you got to wear goggles and all that stuff with when you use them. And we've already, flashed them at something moving fast in the sky, and it slowed down and then pick up speed again. That's happened a couple times. So I'm assuming that whatever we were flashing it at, they got the message. Got to be careful with those things, though. One wrong flash, one reflection off anything shiny, and you're blind. No doubt about it. I mean, that's it. You're done.
I had to point all of my lasers away from the runway, which is behind my house.
Oh, yeah.
I have lasers pointed up into my trees because I got 8 trees in my front yard that are pretty close together. And when I put my Christmas lights up, I got a bunch of them laser beams, that you're supposed to shoot at your house. No. I put it into my trees. So my trees right now look sparkly.
My neighbor does that too. My neighbor does the same thing.
But
he has one set on the house, and he has 2 or 3 sets on the trees. And one night I'm out there, it was like, it was early in the morning. We were getting ready to go somewhere, and I just stepped out back, and I'm like, saw all these lights in the trees. And I'm like, what are they? And it took me like 20 minutes to figure out what they were. Dummy.
Yeah, I have outside right now, I have 5 different laser beams going at my trees right now.
Cool.
And I have one at home. I just unboxed it, and it was broken, so I have to take it back. I'll get the other one tomorrow, man. But I'm telling you, my trees look good. Like I got like 70, 80-foot trees in my front yard.
Wow. Mine are about that in the backyard. Yeah. I got 4 or 5 of them. Oak.
Yeah. No, mine are fir trees.
Oh.
So I can just wait to get some snow out there. Then my lasers are going to go crazy when the snow starts falling. It's going to be awesome. I love my what you call it. Whit is wondering here, as we got about 5.5 minutes left. Any interesting Bigfoot stories from North Carolina recently?
Not recently. I've been working on the mauling of the school teacher in North Carolina. I haven't been paying much attention to anything else but that. They still don't know what tore her up. And plus, not far from that location was where they found the little boy who said the teddy bear took care of him. So I've been kind of spending time in those cases. And the one sheriff deputy has been really nice, because I've talked to him a couple times now, and he said, nothing. We don't have anything. He said, we have no DNA match to anything. Not that we know of anyway. But she was torn up pretty good. And it wasn't her dog. She had 2 dogs with her. And her dogs were tested, and no, it wasn't her dogs.
Do you think that case will ever be solved?
You know what? After all this time, and they have all the DNA that they allegedly got from wounds at the autopsy, I don't think they ever will. I really don't. Sad.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's continue on here. Let's see here. See if we have any more questions from our audience here. As we scroll on down here, Butch Witkowski's Strange Days continuing here. All right, let's go to Open-Minded Clarity. Thanks for joining us tonight. Are these raptors that you talk about developed by the U.S. government to act as natural border protection?
I don't think so. I don't know how you'd control them.
Well, let me rephrase this question, because a lot of people tend to think, Butch, that a lot of these creatures are made by the government in places like Montauk, where there was a lot of secrets. Do you believe there are creatures running around that were created by the government itself, or any type of scientific experimentation?
Well, hey, yeah. I mean, the Germans, the Nazis did it in World War II, where they were trying to mate soldiers with great apes, make super soldiers. So, yeah, it's possible. There was, I believe, was that Maryland? There was a closed up prison in Maryland where a creature of some sort got loose. There was no description of it, but it got loose. And next thing you know, there were military on the scene and all kind of police and all kind of, suit and tie guys. But the one guy that did get in, who was basically making a delivery, he said the one door was just ripped to shreds, a metal door. And then they caught him and said, "Get out of here." I went, okay. Who knows? Who knows what the governments, not just our government, all governments, they come up with some of the stupidest stuff. I mean, mating monkeys or apes with humans to make a super soldier. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. I mean, would have been cheap to feed them, just give them bananas.
Very true. Coral is wondering, how do you know you have shadow people around?
Well, there's a lot of reports of shadow people, but the one that is reported the most is, they call him the Hat Man. And it's just a shadow of a tall, thin guy wearing a hat, like a fedora, not a cowboy hat or anything like that. But there's reports of that guy like everywhere, in the woods, old buildings, old prisons, old hospitals, in people's homes. I have no idea what that would even be. I mean, that it just seems a little ludicrous that, these people, all these people are making this up, because some of those reports go way back into the turn of the century. I have no idea what they'd be. Like the Slender Man, is he for real or not? Don't know.
My friend.
But there's people who will swear and declare they're there.
And my friend, that's a good place to wrap it up. we will not talk to you until after Christmas, near the end of December. So on behalf of Spaced Out Radio, Butch, I hope you and your family have just a wonderful Christmas dinner and family get-together, and Merry Christmas to you, your wife, and your son, and your grandkids, and everybody. It's always a pleasure having you on this show, my friend.
And the same to you and yours, and to all the SOR folks out there. What a group. What a group.
They are good people, just like you.
They are.
Butch Witkowski's Strange Days. We'll talk to him at the end of the month for the year that was. Coming up next, the fedora-wearing John Hudson will join us for the unbiased UFO report. We got Shirky Poo's news, and we'll try and squeeze in the thought of the day.
Hello, this is your guitar
Good
man,
stuff there,
Ron
Butchie Poo.
Bumblefoot Thorn. And I
Good
have to tell you,
stuff.
I love the response I get.
Thank you for a great...
Always good stuff from this outfit.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
And I got some girl that loves me. All right.
Yeah, you have a new girlfriend now.
I'm going to go back and look at that other message you sent me a little closer.
Yeah, that one wasn't good. Wasn't good at all. But thank you so much, Butch. Really appreciate that.
And we'll be talking to you the end of December.
All right, buddy. You take care.
You too, son.
Good night, buddy.
Bye. Night.
Love him. Butch effing Witkowski, everyone. Butch effing Witkowski. It's good times. Good times. All right, we're just waiting for the fedora-wearing John Hudson to join us. There he is, everyone. Look at the fedora. Look at the look. Look at the hair. Look at the chin hair. He's looking good tonight, ladies. And germs, I meant to say. Ladies and germs. Gems.
How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good, man. A great show with Butch. Excited to have you on, bud. Did you just get the story that I sent you? I didn't know if you had that one or not. Johnny Poo? Yanni Poo. Hello. Who has nicer chin hair, YouTube? John or myself?
That was weird. I got disconnected here.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't hear you anymore.
Are your headphones okay? Hello. John, we got a chat here.
Say something?
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2.
I can't hear you at all.
It's your headphones, dude.
It's what?
Your headphones.
Okay. All right, let's try a different one. Okay, can you say something?
Testing 1 2 3 4 5. 5 4 3 2 1.
Weird.
Nothing stressful about this, ladies and gentlemen. Testing 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1 0. We have 1 minute. 1 minute. I can hear you, John. Your microphone's hot. Hop in. Dun, dun, dun. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate having you on in. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. We want to remind you that all of our archives are free. All you got to do is go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Yes. Follow us on social media on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're just waiting. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty hooking up with the fedora-wearing John Hudson. He will be with us momentarily, but, you know, I'm going to wait for his music to end here. But we're going to start off with a story here on the UFO Report. This one comes from a guest we had just a couple of weeks ago, Daniel Otis for Vice. He is a freelance journalist who's a contributor to Vice magazine. It's a report out of Canada where he says just after midnight of September 20th, 2016, that he received, not he, but the Royal Canadian Air Force squadron of CF-18s received a call from Vancouver air traffic controllers about vital intelligence sightings approximately 20 minutes earlier. And it was brought in by an Air Canada Express aircraft that you know, they were trying to figure out what were these strange lights coming off the coast and off the mountains. Now, this was happening, the three red lights, about 3,000 feet above him, according to the Air Canada Express pilot, and traveling slower while 25,000 feet over an uninhibited stretch of British Columbia's northern rugged coast. So we're trying to figure out what is happening and with that. So I don't know. We need more reports out of Canada, I think. We really do. All right. John Hudson, we seems to be logged.
Yes.
Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you now.
All right. We got you now. All right.
All right.
But you know what? We can't start our segment without a little bit of music here. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. Well, that would be kind of you. That would be kind of you.
Oh, that's sounding good now. Sounding real good. So instead of me telling the UFO reports, we're going to bring in the fedora-wearing John Hudson. That was weird, man. You had everything set up properly. Weird. We could see you. We could hear you. You couldn't hear us, but that's okay. Nonetheless, we still get our unbiased UFO report, my friend.
Yes, we do. Now, so, first off, please, no, sorry, go ahead.
No, you please. We enjoy it.
Well, no, I was just going to say, thank you everyone for sticking around, and especially in light of our recent little problem, and once again a head blowing night of Butch. So appreciate everyone sticking around, and hopefully we'll bring up some good conversation for you. Are you doing well tonight, Dave?
I am doing great. I am having a good night. My laser beams are working in my front yard. So
Your laser beams.
Yes, I've lit up my trees in my front yard with Christmas laser beams.
Ah.
And I think
very,
it's
very cool.
And I'm going to be honest with you, John. I think it's a good way for me to attract the aliens. Really do.
You want to make sure you're attracting the right kind, you know.
Yes. By the way,
beginning riffraff.
Before we start this segment, we should be of note here. Nicole Sakic and Grant Cameron just a few weeks ago had their brand new book out called Triangles, Aliens, and Messages. If you want to hear my Black Triangle story, they've included it in there. I believe it's at page 82. Page 82. It's a good Christmas present if you're into the Black Triangles. And Nicole and Grant are just so talented. They absolutely deserve, all the accolades they get for that book. Not just because you used my story, but it was a collection of amazing encounters that people have had. So,
now, Dave, in your specific story, did what you see indicate to you at all it was a human-made craft or not?
Oh no. There was the two. I've seen two. There was no sound on either of them. The first one was way more creepy than the second one. Way more creepy. And that was because earlier that day, I had called some friends up. This was a weekend, Saturday night. I had called some friends up and I asked them to come on over and have a beer on the patio. And we'll have a little fire because I got a little fire pit on my patio. And we'll watch some UFOs fly over. And we saw two that night, including the Black Triangle just a couple thousand feet over top of my house. Weird stuff, man.
Even knowing what I now know, even having seen what I've now seen, if one of my neighbors, even one that I really liked, said, "Hey, John, come over tonight after dinner, have a drink. There's going to be some UFOs flying by. We can watch them as they go by." I honestly, Dave, I wouldn't know what to say. I really wouldn't.
You go for that beer. You go for that beer.
Oh, man, I don't know.
It's crazy.
I don't know what I would say.
Crazy. Did you get an opportunity to read Daniel Otis's article?
No, I did. Wait, sorry, which one was this?
Well, we'll talk about this one on Wednesday. The one I saved.
Okay.
All right. What do you got for us tonight?
Well, actually, it was kind of funny because I've had a whole night of technical challenges because the notes that I had prepared for you guys miraculously vanished. But I would say probably one of the best issues to talk about right now is the DoD is actually responding to the criticism that we are seeing about what their maneuver might have been. And if you think about it, let me just give you guys a little bit of a quick background, just because this has gotten kind of layered in that essentially, you had all these, sequentially, set up amendments, right, that were going. You get up to the Gillibrand Amendment, which is kind of the one amendment to rule them all, and she's kind of adopted as much as she could of all the other ones and sucked it into hers, and so she's got this kind of, dominant one. And, we're all kind of like, ooh, this is nice, this is good and everything, right? And there's actually good stuff in it, right? It's actually well written. And boom, the DoD pops up with basically a press announcement and saying, hey, look, we've set up this new organization and it does kind of most of the stuff that's done in that thing, but not really. We're just letting you know we already did it. Like, it's no big deal, And it immediately made it look like they were like trying to do a trick. I mean, they were trying to pull fool everyone. And the fact that basically in a press conference room, they were actually specifically asked this and had to specifically respond to the fact that is this organization that they are standing up specifically designed to actually, basically obscure and basically undo. And it was interesting. What the reporter said was, and this really kind of ticked a nerve for the guy, was basically something along the lines of to undo the will of Congress. And he got very testy. And I'll include a link to it in my notes. But what I find what I find so interesting is that one is that this would escalate to a point that in a DoD press conference room, someone would actually call out specifically Luis Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, and the fact that it was something that they'd written that was at the focal point of all this, right? So for those two names to be brought up, for the DoD to be called out for basically trying to obscure or slow this down, and then for them to actually respond, to actually acknowledge it as a valid complaint and respond to it in the way they did. Wow, I'm kind of blown away. Like I was really, I guess I was kind of naively kind of hoping that essentially, what the DoD was really doing was they were trying to get set up preemptively, and they were planning on merging and working together, and they weren't really trying to obscure and squash. And now, based on this DoD response that I saw, now I'm thinking I was being too optimistic. Now I'm thinking that they really were trying to do some squashing, and they got caught, and now they're trying to play all, oops, sorry. I mean, I don't know. Did you see it?
I did. And I was surprised that they were basically telling people, don't pay attention to Elizondo, don't pay attention to Chris Mellon. They don't know what we're talking about. And the other point is, this is something, and look, I have been heavily questioning Luis Elizondo and Chris Mellon over the years. John, you've listened to us long enough before you joined us to know that I haven't been the most friendly person about this. But I'm telling you right now, my mind has changed. I really do believe they are on our side to an extent. On our side to try and get disclosure or some sort of confirmation out there. But here's the thing that really kind of got my mind going, John, was the fact that they also stated that they don't feel that the public or the government officials have a need to know about the information they are collecting. We do not have a need to know. Now, if I'm American, which I'm not, that is a very, very powerful statement. That, to me, is the second missile over the bow regarding the military-industrial complex telling elected government officials, you don't rule us, we rule you. You will do what we say.
Yeah, no. I think it's pretty fair to say that this constitutes the, and we've actually seen some pretty strong pushback at certain points in this whole process. And I would say that this constitutes the most aggressive and obviously done out of fear, anger flash that we've seen out of the DoD through this entire process. I don't think we've ever seen them push back this hard. This is them. They're. I think the Gillibrand Amendment caught them off guard.
It did.
I don't know how that happened, but I think it did. I think it really caught them off guard.
But you know what? If I'm in the mainstream media in the U.S., this is a major story that is brewing right in front of every American, and it is public, and it is getting zero press. Now
forget the UFO part for a second. Just look at all the pieces of the story.
Right.
It's a good story. It's a fun story, right? It's like, come on, like, just get your teeth into it.
Dude, this is a dangerous story. It's a very dangerous story, and it's telling a lot of American people, you don't matter.
Yeah.
You don't run the show.
Yeah.
Your vote for whoever becomes the president doesn't matter. Whether you're Democrat, whether you're Republican, whether you're Libertarian, or whether you vote for the Spaghetti Party or whatever party is out there. All right? If our American listeners tuning into this take anything from this show tonight and this little commentary, please do this. All right? This is now the second time in less than 10 days that the military has told elected officials to shut up. Number one came when they fired the salvo about putting the bill forward, and we'll take care of the UFOs. You government officials don't need to ask us anything about it. And number two comes now, where they're saying, number one, Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, anybody preaching for UFO disclosure, don't believe in them. And number 2A, the public and elected officials will not receive reports from the military regarding UFOs. That's dangerous. Very dangerous. And
it puts people it puts a lot of other people in interesting positions, right? Because you take someone like the DNI, right? Now the DNI, she reports directly to the president. She does not. She's not within the DoD. However, several of those who report to her are from the DoD, and so she sits in kind of like this middle ground. And it'll be interesting to see how she plays this, because she could end up being in that peacemaker role of mitigating some real calamity there. Because if she, for example, decides to use some of her resources to push for more disclosure, it might force the DoD's hand. The flip side is that the DoD can get her to begin operating on their behalf, then we might really actually get into a situation where things start getting really shut down.
But it's more than that, John. And I agree with you. You're 100% right. And people may say I'm overreacting on this, but this is about the military-industrial complex. It really is. We are seeing the military-industrial complex right now flex their muscles over UFOs. They flex their muscles towards the public and the elected officials themselves. I don't remember any time in my life that I've been following politics of this ever happening.
There's one other case, and it's sad because I've been looking for it for like 3 years and I can't find it. But I watched it live on CNN, and it was like in the late 80s, I think it was, and it was on the Invisible Bomber. So this was basically on the B-2 long before we knew it was called the B-2. And basically, this guy's testifying in front of Congress, and the Congress was why won't you answer my question? And he's like, because I answer to a higher authority. And the guy's like, what authority do you answer to? And the guy's like, I can't tell you. That's because I work for that higher authority. And basically just shut down this whole congressional hearing. I mean, it was just like, it was flabbergasting. It was awe-inspiring. I still to this day can't find it. But to me, this is that kind of level stuff.
Well, you're exactly right, buddy. You're exactly right. John, we're going to continue this in the after show on our YouTube channel, but we're going to get to Shirky Poo's news right about now. Thank you so much for a great unbiased UFO report. Sorry about the tech difficulties there, but you're awesome, buddy. You're one of the best out there, and thank you for being part of our team.
Thank you, sir.
All right, here we go. Let's get to Shirky Poo's news. Here we go again in British Columbia. Another atmospheric river will be streaming into western Washington and parts of British Columbia again. The back-to-back-to-back systems for the region seems a little broken, but the phenomena is significant. It's going to mean more flooding. It's going to mean more landslides. It's going to be more blocking roads. It's going to mean that Dave doesn't have to go home and spend time with his family over Christmas, which is all right with Dave because he gets to go skate on the ice outside of Christmas Day at his house. But the atmospheric river, it hit us hard November 13th to 16th, dropping up to 300 millimeters of rain, or just about a foot, and precipitation in less than 48 hours, said Jason Zhang, a meteorologist for Environment Canada. But we're getting close to more of it happening. How close? Well, expect the highways to be closed. Literally, British Columbia, the whole Vancouver area, if you don't know. Vancouver, straight to a town called Chilliwack, is shut down. All you got to do is go Google it. The photos are incredible, especially in Abbotsford. That's my hometown. It's where old Davey was born and raised. Let's move on here. Speaking of the weather, when heavy fog forced a Canadian Armed Forces helicopter crew from Quebec to make an emergency landing last week on the banks of the Fraser River near Yale, BC, they were not expecting the series of generous events that followed. Fog and darkness had rolled quickly on November 23rd after Captain Julien Brideau and his crew departed Boston Bar on their way up to the Abbotsford Airport. The crew of 4, which included a British Columbia doctor, had been on a medical mission helping flood-impacted patients in the region. On our way back, the fog banks were getting bigger as we were winding down the valley. I've driven that highway. It gets foggy, said Brideau with the 430 Tactical Helicopter Squadron. We made a good decision to land, but the only spot wide enough was a sandbank by the Fraser River, and with the rain in the forecast, he was worried the river could flood. Nearby Yale residents Randall Gardner and Melinda Barnes heard the sound of the chopper's rotors, so they set off to investigate. And Gardner shared the pilot's concerns about flooding and suggested a better spot uphill. I went uphill with them and looked at the area as we were discussing. I was like, yeah, it's a little tight, but we could get her in there. Got a chainsaw, cut down a few trees, and the helicopter landed. The crew, hungry, tired, even got some grilled cheese sandwich from the great Canadian people of Yale, British Columbia. By the way, haunted area, that Yale. Yeah. Fantastic, though. Good for them. That's the way we take care of people up here. All right, how's this? According to the 2024 Olympics, the city of Paris has announced an unprecedented program that they will be launching flying passenger drones to be used as taxis. Pilot testing is already underway on the large-scale electric drone aircraft, which they hope will be used to shuttle sports fans from one Olympic venue to another. And we got time for one more. All right, Swedish furniture company IKEA is offering a tiny home apartment in Tokyo for the price of less than $1 a month for a year. IKEA said the 107-square-foot apartment in the Shinjuku district will be rented out on a one-year lease for the price of $0.86 per month. That's $86 a month, not including utilities. Want to say a big thank you to everybody listening in tonight, to Shirky Poo for the news, and of course John Hudson for the unbiased UFO report, and who could forget the infallible Butch Witkowski for Strange Days. We'll talk to Butch one more time in 2021 near the end of December. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our YouTube chat room tonight, along with Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club. Who else we got? LGAB, Revolution Radio. We love having all of you chatting during the show.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.